Being a fisherman is a very expensive hobby, and if you do fish already, I'm sure you already know that. But in today's video, I'm going to teach you one way that you could save hundreds of dollars in the tackle shop, very simply by making your own bait. What is going on, guys? Ryan from Livin here, and today we have a little bit of a how-to tutorial style video where I'm going to be teaching you guys how to save hundreds of dollars at the tackle shop, and that is by making your own bait. And today we are going to be slicing up some bonita strips, which are excellent for trolling here in South Florida. And I'm really not exaggerating when I say save hundreds of dollars. Just 5 of these bonita strips will cost around $15, maybe a little bit more than that at your local tackle shop. And while 5 might seem like a lot, sometimes you go out there trolling, you'll fish 2 bonita strips, 1 on each planer or however your setup is, and then you'll get double hit and you'll lose or maybe catch some fish, so you have to re-rig. Or like the other day, we got hit short twice, so we got 0 fish in the boat and we lost 2 bonita strips. You can go through them very quickly on a good day of fishing. So the cost of these bonita strips can rack up very quickly. That is why it's a great idea to make them yourself. Now, before we dive into actually making these bonita strips here, we are going to take it back to last week when we were out fishing and actually caught this bonita.
No, you're good. You're fine. Oh, the drag's not even that loose. Okay. Fish on. Woo! Okay, that's something good. That we swing towards the bottom. I don't think it's a shark. It's coming up to the top. Look at that. Wait, you might be able to see him. If this is a sailfish, I'm handing it right over to you. I'm just letting you know. You see the line? What was that? Yeah, on the flat line. On my live bait! That was on the live bait! That was, I swear. He's charging the boat. Oh, he's at the surface over there. You see him? We got a fish on! Woohoo! Flat line on our little live bait. That's only like 1 inch long. Whew. We got finally something good hit the flat line. And now he's doing circles around the boat on the surface. I just really want to see what it is at least. You see what it is? I really hope that's not a barracuda. Yeah, right? It looks like a barracuda. No, it's a bonita. Oh yeah, we need a freaking bonita. Yes it is, yes it is, I promise. That's a bonita. Where's the gaff? Get the practice, we never use that gaff. Here, give me the camera. Yeah. You got him? Nice shot. Okay, right to the butt. Oh, probably. Wow, you barely kept him. Oh, what were we just saying? What did we say? We needed a bonita today because we just ran out of strips.
We got a lot of strips now.
There we go. Okay, on the flat line. Look at that.
Nice job.
Thank you.
A bonita on a flat.
Woo! Bonita on a flat line. Let's show you guys our live bait real quick. Since you guys understand, I think I showed you at the beginning, but these are the size of the live bait we're using. This guy's obviously dead, but look how tiny he is. Little tiny pilchards.
Look at that. Show the hook. Look where the
look
hook
at that.
In his mouth.
Perfect hook set.
Just on the lip with a little 3-0 hook. Wow, look at that.
Let's take a look at our bonita here. Nice bonita. Look at that hook set right in the corner of the mouth. You know what? It might not be dinner, but we have that mangrove snapper, and now we got more bait for the next time we go out.
Wow, that was an epic fight. Totally unexpected that it hit a little live bait that was only this big, a little tiny pilchard. But hey, that was an awesome fight, and really happy that we got some more bait. So without further ado, we are going to start diving into making our bonita strips. Now, we've already broken down the bonita and we have put it into fillets over here. We've had it sitting in the fridge for a couple days. It is nice and ready to go to make some fillets. So the first thing we're going to want to do is have an extremely sharp knife. So today we are using our 7-inch Smith's fillet knife right here. It's got a little bit of flex to it, not crazy, but just enough to get the job done. And we're going to start by just filleting up our bonita as we would any other fish. Now, it is very important that you keep the skin underneath intact. So you want to start a little bit above and just kind of work your way down. You don't want to start going way too close to the skin right at the beginning. And I will throw a quick disclaimer in here. I have not made hundreds of bonita strips in my life, meaning I am no expert. I know how to do it, I know the concept of it. I need to put a little bit more practice in it to make my strips perfect, but that's why we're here making the strips for you guys right now to show you the premise on how to do it. So we're just gonna slice away, and the awesome part is that none of this meat is going to go to waste. If you guys live down here in South Florida, or you catch bonita wherever you are, or false albacore, whatever you call them where you are, they're not the best tasting fish. They're a lot better tuna tasting. We get the yellow fins once in a blue moon around here, but mostly black fins. And those taste a lot better than the bonita, so we don't really eat bonita down here. But all this is going to go for chum, or we're going to actually probably just cube it up today and use this as chunk bait. None of it's gonna go to waste though, which is the awesome thing. So stop throwing back your bonitas, keep them, they're fantastic bait. And we are just gonna continue to, or we'll move this out of the way first. We'll continue to slice down this. Now we're just going to continue to slowly cut down. And notice that we are going with the grain of the fish. So this is the tail over here on my left side, your guys' right side, and this is where the head was. This is the way the grain of the fish goes. Not this way. This way is against the grain. This way is with the grain. So that is the way we are going to be filleting our fish. And like I said, we're just going to be taking this down till there is a minimal amount of fish on here. I don't really have an idea how much. I just kind of eyeball it compared to other strips that I've bought. Like I said, especially if you're new at doing this, slow and steady wins the race really with this one, because you just want to take your time, because once you puncture that skin on the other side, it's game over for that section. You're not getting any strips out of that. So just take your time, sit here, and just shave it down until we get nice and close to that skin while still leaving a little bit of meat on it. Now, one technique while you are doing this to make sure that you are getting all the meat off as much as possible here without, sawing through and cutting through the skin, is you just take your blade just at a very slight angle like this, and you're going to just run it against the meat, just like so. You can see it's just like petting a dog here. We're petting our fish, and you can see you end up getting a little bit of meat coming off of here. It comes off as almost like your tuna and a spicy tuna roll there. But using that technique, you can see we got this big old mound of meat that came off. But our strip is looking very good in its thickness here, which we'll show you what that looks like. So hopefully you can get an idea of how thick. That is pretty much what we want. Hopefully you're able to see that. But very nice, smooth surface. We didn't poke through. This tail end's not gonna end up being very great. There was a couple bones up here we have to cut out because we're not gonna control some bones. But very thin, very perfect slab of bonita there, we are going to turn into some beautiful strips. All right, it's time to get into the bread and butter here, and AKA making our strips. And for this, because I am more new at doing this, I actually like using this little artificial bonita strip I have. We troll these sometimes. They're just artificial. I think they're called Mylar bonita strips here. And we haven't caught a ton of fish on them, but we also don't fish them the most because I really like using the actual strips. But I use this as a guide almost to the size, the shape, and everything like that. So I think the company is called Bait Strips. If you guys want to check them out, they're like $6 or something like that for a pack of 5. Even if you want to get them, just kind of use them as a template. It's not a bad idea when you're doing this. But you can see here, this is how you would troll the bonita strip. So the hooks would end up going on this side, and it's going to be swimming through the water that way. So the pointy tail is going to be the tail end of your bait. Now, it's very important, this is how you're going to want to make your baits. Like I said, the grain of the fish goes this way. So we want it to float through the water like that. quick sidebar, quick story. When we made our bonita strips last time, we made them the wrong way. We cut them so that the head was on this side over here and the water was flowing against the grain. And you know what happens when the water flows against the grain? You get very frustrated out there. It was tripping our planers, our baits were looking terrible, and we were thinking that we left too much meat on the bonita strips, and that's why we were having so much problems, why it was like flaking off of the strips. Well, it turns out that we accidentally cut it from the head side and made the head instead of the tail the head of the bait. So definitely don't do that because it's going to cause you a lot of problems. We switched it, we modified our baits and cut the tails flat and then made the head parts all pointing to a tail, so we swapped it around and it trolled perfectly after that. So it wasn't a thickness problem, it was going against the grain. So this is a crucial step when you're making your bonita strips. This is exactly how it will look. The head of the strip bait, tail of the fish. That's what we are going to be mimicking. This mylar strip, by the way, is 8 inches, so that is kind of the size we are going for. And it's pretty much just gonna be one fillet. Like I said, the tail part, like over here, is not really so useful. Some of the end over here is not gonna be so useful. So you're pretty much going to get probably about 4 baits out of this one side. So we're gonna leave that right there so we have our idea. Now, we're just gonna have to go for it. Like I said, I am not the most experienced doing this part of it, but it just takes a little bit of practice. Now, one thing I did just see online, and this credit goes to Darsizzle Offshore, this is one of her techniques to help how the bonita strips swim straight, is you're going to want to cut an edge on like a 45-degree angle. So not straight up and down like this, cut on an angle so that the skin overlaps the fish. That's supposed to help it swim straight, just act better and more natural in the water. So we're just gonna kind of go for it and see what happens. So there we are, cutting at a 45-degree angle, nice and smooth, just like that. Make another cut, make sure we get to the skin. Like I said, nice sharp knife is very important for this. And we have the start of our first strip bait. Beveled here on this side as well. Make it come to a little bit nicer of a point. And there's been times we've made bonita strips and sometimes we just fix them out on the fly when we're on the boat right before we're about to troll them. Maybe I'll make the tail a little bit better looking, flatten out the head, anything like that. You can still modify it while you're on the boat. I don't really see any problem in that. And one other pro tip, like I said, I am doing this inside today to avoid all the bugs outside. If you can do it inside in a nice closed environment, let me tell you, it makes a world of a difference. You do not want to be fighting with bugs and everything like that when you're making these strips. You want to be in good conditions here to make these strips because, well, it takes a lot of patience to do this. So this strip I actually made just a little bit too skinny. You could see it looks a little skinny there. So we'll probably still end up trolling it. We might end up using it for bottom bait instead. Like I said, nothing is going to waste, but we have our tail end over here. We're just gonna cut a little flat section over here. And there we go. You can see it's a little short. It looks like it's about 1 inch short and a little bit too thin. But here is our artificial strip. Here is our bonita strip. Like I said, not one of my best ones, but there's also the one on the end. So I will get better as I keep going here. But that's the idea. You pretty much, the premise you want to follow. I'm going to cut a couple more strips here and I'll show you guys what I end up getting out of this one slab of bonita. There we go. That's the kind of bait we're looking for right there. You can see we finished filleting up the one side, we're working on the second side. This is nice. Even on both sides, comes to a nice tip, nice flat head, perfect amount of meat on there. This right here, this is the perfect bonita strip that we are looking for. The length checks out perfectly with the mylar strip. Feel like we can get these on every time. Maybe one day when we make our strips. There we go, there's another pretty good looking strip right there. Very happy with the length, thickness, everything like that.
Well, here we are, the end result of our bonita strips. Now, before you start harping on me on they look terrible, they're not gonna swim right, blah, 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 blah. Okay, there are a couple here that aren't the best. I'm willing to admit that. This is probably only my third time ever making bonita strips. So please forgive me, need a little bit more practice, but there are some really good looking strips here. And you can see a little practice makes perfect. My last couple strips ended up looking pretty good. We got one over here. All the four of these look fantastic. These two are looking pretty good. A little skinny over here, not bad. This is where I messed up. You can see these couple guys are a little short. I ended up cutting the fillet in half and trying to get more strips out of it when I shouldn't have. Ended up creating some really short baits, as you can see there. And I don't think those are gonna be throwable. They look a little too short. So we're just gonna use them probably as bottom bait. But lesson learned, make them a little bit longer and don't cut them short. But you could see here, we'll take a closer look. They're looking pretty good. So it looks like we have about 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 throwable baits here. And that is out of one whole bonita. So that is pretty darn good if you ask me. And this right here will save me $30 at the tackle shop, which is awesome. Then the next step to do here with our baits is going to be salting them down with some sea salt, kosher salt, whatever you have. And we're going to be sticking them in the freezer, laying them flat, spread out like this. That way they freeze separately, nice salted, that way they stay firm. All good for when you are ready to use them. We'll take them out of the freezer and then they are ready to troll. So we're gonna come in here, all we have is the coarse kosher salt on hand. I would probably use a finer grain of salt, but this is gonna have to do. We're just going to give them a nice coating. Kinda wanna make sure we press it into those strips. Get them nice and salty. Just like if you were seasoning your food, you wanna make sure it's sticking onto your food. You wanna make sure the salt is sticking onto your strips. Here we are. Very proud of how most of these strips came out. We're just going to plop this on in. Lastly here for breaking down the bonita, I have 3 Ziploc bags. Now, like I said, we're going to break down this rest of the bonita into chunks and chum. So I have one bag we're going to use for chum, which is just going to be, if we're going to be bottom fishing and we want to throw out some oats and chum and mix it all together, we can break out this bag of bonita. It's all the stuff that's really no good to drop on the bottom or anything like that. That's going to go in the chum bag. Throw it in the freezer, defrost it whenever we want to use it for some chum. Then we're gonna have 2 different bags of chunk bait. There's a lot of chunk bait there. You put it all into one bag, you go out fishing, you defrost it, then you refreeze it, defrost it, you can refreeze it. It just ends up becoming a mess. You're better off freezing in smaller quantities. That way you can keep it, you know, whatever you're gonna use for that day, you only have to grab 1 bag, or maybe you grab 2, keep 1 defrosted, keep 1 still on ice, nice and frozen. However you wanna do it, just don't throw it all into 1 bag. So, this is going to be our chum bag, and we will label everything to stay organized later. Put our knife over there, slide our extra stuff. So this is all going to be chum. This is all that's kind of nasty, except for this guy. This is our 1 extra strip here that didn't end up making it to the bunch because, well, it's not big enough. So, all this stuff all going right here into our chum bag. Okay, so that is all the chum that we got out of this pretty decent sized container here. We'll mix nicely with some oats later on. Now it's time to break up these 2 fillets into some nice chunk bait. We have our nice slab over here, so we are just going to probably do... This definitely doesn't have to be perfect. This is just making some chunk bait sizes, so just like little cubes almost. Little rectangles, whatever you want to do. Just enough decent sized bait. Some good stuff might want to eat it. Just like that, just a little cube. That's all we're looking for. If you see mahi out there, maybe you can pitch them to them. Maybe they'll want to eat it. But that is the size bait we're going for right there. Well, that's it. We got it all broken down now. We have 1 bag of chunks over here. Our 2nd bag of chunks over here, and our bag of chum.
So that's it. Broke down our, we made bonita strips. We broke down the fillets into nice usable chunks for some good bottom bait. We got some chum. I think we made pretty good use of this bonita. If you guys did find this video helpful, it would mean a lot if you guys hit the like button on this video. Definitely consider subscribing down below if you want to see me put all this bait to work. Hopefully catch some awesome fish offshore very soon. Please take it easy on me in the comments. I know I said this earlier, but it's only like my third time ever making the strips. I just really wanted to share this with you guys because I know those strips can be extremely expensive at the tackle shop. And if you catch a bonita, take your time with it, bring it on into a nice comfortable environment, get yourself a nice sharp fillet knife. I think these Smith knives are only like $20 or something like that, and they're very, very good knives. So pick yourself up a good knife and take your time filleting up these bonitas and making beautiful strips for yourself, getting some bottom bait, chum, everything like that with it as well. Thank you guys so much for watching again. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see more like it, I will link one on the left side of the screen over here. I really think you'll enjoy this video if you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, remember to keep living salty.